Hey everybody, welcome to Shippy's Club. Yeah, no, we're in the hat today. Anyway, just want to let you guys know that I have no idea whether or not I want to go to nationals, but the only reason why is because I can't really find anything to go against Lysander this quick. And thinking that the trump card has been banned is just absolutely information breaking. And in this small amount of time that we actually have, I'm not too sure that I'm confident in my choices to actually win a national championship. So we'll have to see. Anyway, let's talk about a few of the decks that we expect to see based on Lysander's trump card not really being there. Well, the first one is the obvious Night March. That deck was devastating from the blow. And when Lysander's trump card became real popular, fewer and fewer people decided to play it. But when it first came out, no one thought the card was really any good. And then, after a little experimentation with it, speed decks decided to use it to basically run through their entire deck 4 or 5 times before winning. But anyway, basically what I'm getting at is, now that it's been banned, decks like Night March are going to find a lot more room to run. Decks like Flareon are going to absolutely be phenomenal. And a lot of your Flareon decks are going to tech in Raichu with the obvious Leafeon for those Rayquaza matchups. And it will probably end up having 2 or 3 of them in top 8 as far as Flareon, Raichu, Leafeon, those type of decks. Anyway, so we already know that Mega Rayquaza is going to be still huge, regardless how bulky it is and how much you have to pull out in order to get that turn 1 second player to go type knockout. And it does get a little rough, but still, I think that some players are going to manage to pull it off, just because they've been testing with it since it first came out. And for someone like me, I'm not even going to test Mega Rayquaza. It's just too bulky for a person like me to play. I'm not a bulky deck type. Anyway, let's also expect Donphan. Now, I'm sure we all know without Lysander's trump card, you can't really abuse a whole bunch of resources like you normally could, and you really have to think about cards like Crushing Hammer, Enhanced Hammer, and other sorts of cards that you normally would be able to run through 12 or 16 copies of. And Donphan's going to be one of those Pokemon that can take advantage of your opponent not being able to do it, and holding on to their strong energies and fight energy, muscle bands, the fighting stadium, and more importantly, the Floatstone basics setting up front, especially Robo Substitute. So obviously Donphan's going to have a little more potential. Some people will try to tech Primal Groudon for a couple reasons. Some people will try to tech in Trevenant along with it and maybe pull a Shaman or two. There's going to be several Donphan players that'll try a bunch of different techniques now that Roaring Skies has given us a lot to think about. And it'll be very interesting to see what actually comes with this. Another very interesting deck that we'll probably assume is a deck that I wanted to use, and I'm not sure if it's popular or not, but this was a deck concept I was going to use, is Gengar Trevenant. It does have Shaman up. So it would technically be Trevenant Shaman, which is a popular deck already. It would have Gengar EX, and it would also, my deck would incorporate Dusknoir for very obvious reasons. And those reasons are, well, for one, I'm going to be able to move my opponent's damage counters. Number 2, I can pretty much Lysander a Pokemon up and hold it to a poison plus 60 damage every turn. Actually, technically it'd be 90 if I have Burbank City Gym. So it'd be going 120 into their turn, and then Dusknoir could just move that 120 wherever it likes. So that's pretty much was my strategy going into nationals, but I'm not sure that I'm even going to be there. If you guys are interested in the list, feel free to hit me up for it. I really don't see myself actually going, so If you guys want to try out the deck that I wanted to run, you're more than welcome to it. Anyway, so how exactly are we going to manage our resources? Well, this has been a key, and this one was a question that was posted all over PokeBeat, Six Prizes. There are experts posting their opinions on resource management, and all I can say is think back to the old days. I mean, this is nothing new for us. The only problem is we haven't basically ran decks for about almost 5 months or so without some sort of speed into it. I mean, when Lysander's Trump card was first announced, it didn't gain too much popularity until about the city championships. And then it started being real popular, and up till now, it's banned. Well, before then, we didn't have licensed trump cards, so resource management was pretty easy for us. But it did mean that a lot of luck has been taken out, and a lot of luck has been put back in. So it really depends. But resource management, for those of you who are kind of new to the game and haven't been playing too long and you're used to licensed trump card, then let's go over resource management. Basically, the key here is to know your entire deck. I mean, card for card, you got to know your counts. You got to know every single card does. That is key number one. You have to know your whole deck. Number two, even if your buddy built a deck or whatnot, you can't just fight against one other deck. You have to, even if you proxy a deck to play against, find someone to play with the proxy, and or just a deck in general, and play against all these different decks and formats. You'll notice right away what works and what doesn't. But here's the catch. You have to know what is effective and when it is, so you know exactly how to manage your resources effectively. For example, let me give a very critical scenario. When you're playing against a Mega Rayquaza and they have 2 basic energy to start the game, you have to make a decision. If you have Crushing Hammer or even Team Flare Grunt, you have to make that decision whether you want to get rid of those energy without a double colorless. You have to make that decision. And that's the hardest part about it. Now, if it was 1 double colorless and a basic energy, you could probably just enhance Hammer without thinking about it, and it would probably be the right move. But when it comes to things like Crushing Hammer, you have to use your resources effectively. And it comes with Headringer too, because if your opponent plays a 3/3 Rayquaza, then you want to Headringer the one that is either Mega Evolved already or starts to attach energy to it, because if you go too early on the Rayquaza, all they have to do is scoop up, or Az, or Cassius. I mean, it's not that hard. And especially with Jirachi still in format, it's not going to get any easier. And that's one of the few things that you have to think about, is resource management. Now, another very important part of resource management is your drop basics. Drop basics like Jirachi, Shaman, these cards take effect as soon as they come into the play. Now, the problem with some of these cards is that they'll give you really good effect, but you have to know when to play it. Back way when, it didn't matter, because you could super scoop up flip tails. Oh well, I'll just use 4 and then I'll reuse them, which was absolutely insane. And it just took a lot of fun out of the game. But nowadays, you can't really run 4 Shaman in a deck. You run 1 Jirachi, maybe 1 or 2 Shaman, and that would pretty much be all you'd want to run. Now, I'm one who's going to go ahead and say that Jirachi is best used early, and Shaman, now that licensed trump cards are banned, is probably best used late. And the reason I say that is because now you have more of your supporters and you're able to take advantage of multiple ends and sycamores, Colress if you use it, and stuff like that. Now, being able to use these supporters early will help get your setup. But when you start to lose these supporters, then Shaman is probably best played at this time. And that's where effective resource management comes into play. Now, I've been playing this game for 16 years, since '99, so I know a thing or two about resource management. But anyway, let's go over one more very key important aspect of resource management: time. Now, what I advise everyone to do is look at the time whenever they say players you may begin. I always look at the time. Whether you use a cell phone or use a watch like I do, and I use a watch, I do, just so I know exactly what time it is and I know how much time I have left. And this really helps you have a good idea on what you really need to get done in what amount of time. Now, I'm one to say that speed is probably going to be the deck that wins 2 games, and those decks that kind of ride out, like Seismitoad, might not have such a great advantage in this new format without Lysander's trump card, because most of your speed decks are going to be decking out, and it's going to be very tough to play catch up. Yeah, I know, catch up. But anyway, the time is very important. Let me put out an example. Suppose you have 10 minutes left and your opponent has 4 prize cards to your 2. Okay? They've taken out one of your EX and you've taken out 2 of theirs. Now, there's a big scenario here. You either have to Lysander up a Pokemon in order to get a good setup that you had, because they knocked out the Pokemon that you needed, and it took you a while to get set up, took them a while to get set up, whatnot. So now you have to decide whether you want to Lysander up their bench Pokemon, or if you want to try to hit them directly, try to make it a force-on-force type deal. But say they just knocked you out. You probably don't want to try to mess with that Pokemon. If they have no threat up, sure, you can pull up Lysander, whatnot, that's fine. But if they have a pretty set up field, you probably want to get something done immediately. Try everything you can to get set up. And the reason I say this is because when they call time, you have +3. And if you can't pull off something, chances are they're probably going to take it. And it's not wrong to stall a match as long as you're, using 10 seconds per move or whatnot. That is perfectly legal. But it's not it's not legal to actually physically slow play. But if you can make enough decisions each about 9 or 10 seconds apart, then that would probably be the most reasonable aspect to try to get into a game, instead of trying so hard to go through and try to really hurry and just get a complete setup as fast as you can, and then, oh wow, they knock you out. So it's tied. And this is where it really comes down to. Let's go over a scenario where you say Mega Rayquaza just knocked you out. Okay? They're about to take their next 2 prizes, and they got 2 left. You have 2 left. Now, you have a Pikachu on the bench. Just say you have a Pikachu. You have a fully red Flareon, and you only have 13 Pokemon in the discard pile. Now, you've already used 2 Battle Compressor, say whatnot. Okay? Now, you could try to discard enough Pokemon to Vengeance for a knockout, or you could try to get out a Raichu and get out the energy necessary. Of course, this is where it really comes down to, is which one do you go after? Well, look at the resources in your discard pile, see what the probability of you actually pulling off the combo with Flareon is compared to pulling off the combo with a Raichu. And obviously, finding an energy to an energy switch and evolving Raichu isn't as difficult as one would assume. But if they already knocked out one Raichu, and you have one Raichu left in the deck, and say you have maybe one Ultra Ball left, your chances aren't that great, but I still would try to get, say, an Energy and possibly get that Energy Switch. But if Energy Switch came before Raichu, I might not get that Energy back onto him. Instead, I might just go for the knockout. And Vengeance is good. It's a really good attack, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that I really do believe that that deck has got so much potential to win Nationals. But resource management is all about what you have, what you've already used, and the current situation. But like I said before, it's going to be between when you play something, do you really need it at that time, or do you want to wait and play it later? Now, if you guys want more in-depth analysis on any particular deck and resource management, just let me know. Type in the comment section, hey Shifty, we want to know more about, say, Trevenant Shaman in the resource management, or if you want to, even if you want to know some crazy idea like Wailord Stall in resource management, hey, hit me up. I've done Wailord Wars before. It's not in a tournament. But anyway, thought I'd let you guys know that I might not be going to Nationals, that Lysander's trump card should be somewhat of an effect on our format, but resource management is key, and there are decks that I do expect to excel now that it has been banned. So, that's all I got for today, guys. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. Post the comments you have in the comment section down below. And as always, hope you guys had as much fun as I had. I'll see you guys next time. Shit.